Welcome to the Stretch to Go podcast. My name is Ian Ray, and today I have my brother from down under that lives here in America, Jonathon Christopher. Jonathon Christopher, welcome to this podcast, sir.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much for having me. Excited to have a chat.
So, I know this podcast is for practitioners or practicing FST, people who are learning, who want to know, learn more about Stretch to Win Institute or just everything about fascia, holistic health, health and wellness, whatnot. But I invited you today because you have a great, unique story that I'm sure I'm going to be learning, and the audience too, is like how your journey came to be from, a kid from Canberra, Australia, all the way to doing FST here in the States. So tell the audience, like, what was your journey like? What are you doing currently right now? And where are you located? Go ahead.
Okay. So yeah, I'm from Canberra, which is, it's a smaller city in Australia. It's the capital. Pretty cold sort of with regards to Canberra climate in the winters and that sort of thing. It's a rugby stronghold. So they're less, they don't have a professional Australian rules team. They have like a rugby league and a rugby union team. So I grew up with that. My dad and I would go to sort of the rugby games on Sundays, and I always looked forward to that. And as a real young kid, getting to spend time with my father and like watch this stuff. And he grew up playing, so it was kind of like it just naturally progressed into that. And then I always wanted to play. My mum wasn't too keen on me playing. It's a rough sport and that sort of thing. So, they went overseas at some point for work, and I got put in boarding school, and we had to play a sport. And so I just signed up for rugby, and she didn't have a choice in it then. And I was kind of doing it because like everyone was like, oh, rugby. And I was like, all right, cool. I'm going to go with what everyone's doing sort of thing. And I kind of want to play, but I don't know really much about it sort of thing, actually playing it. And so, yeah, I just started playing rugby, and that went really well through high school. Sort of was in the state teams and whatnot. It's a pretty rough sport, lots of little niggles here and there. And then post high school, I sort of was trying to have a career in it, and kind of injury really kind of hampered that, various things. But the main thing was I kept tearing my hamstring, and I couldn't stay healthy there. And they kept treating the hamstring, and it was like, okay, well, it's probably not the hamstring if I keep tearing the hamstring like every time I'm coming back. And I know those things are tricky anyways, but I always felt there was something more. Mm-hmm. And you fast forward, I kind of stopped playing, had a career, all that sort of stuff, and then ended up sort of getting together with a woman I'd gone to high school with overseas, American girl. Life circumstances happened, and we were set to get married. She was supposed to move out to Australia and continue life that way. And her father suddenly died, so I ended up we collectively changed plans, and I was moving to the States. And all of a sudden, I was at a crossroads. I couldn't do what I did in Australia in the States. Like I could, but it just didn't pay peanuts. So I was what am I going to do? I worked in community education, a lot of sort of stuff with children, particularly children on the spectrum. Those sorts of things aren't paid well in this country, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. So it's sort of, and a lot of where I'd gotten to with my career was so specific with policy and things like that. I'd kind of gotten from working directly with the kids to like advocating for them. And when you know how a local government works or something like that, it's completely useless when you leave that area. So yeah, I'm in the States, and didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I thankfully had a bit of time to kind of figure it out. And I was looking at becoming an EMT when a family friend came over one evening, and she was looking at kind of getting into nursing, and as the fast track of that, she'd gone into massage school. So she's, talking with the wife, and they're hanging out, and I'm just like, whatever. And she goes, oh, John, you'd be interested in this. We went on a field trip today. And I'm thinking, yeah, sure. It sounds, where'd you go? Like, to the thing. And she's like, we went and worked at the Washington Redskins, as they were known at the time, like to their facility. And I was like, wait, what? Like, and it was like the penny dropped, and I went, sports massage. Okay. And so I literally, it was a Friday night. I walked into the school on Monday morning when they opened, and went, sign me up. And yeah, so the little Northern Virginia School of Therapeutic
Wait,
Massage.
so you lived on here, like near me. I'm in Maryland.
There
Yeah.
you go.
Say
I
okay.
didn't realize. I thought you were, for some reason, I thought you were up further north.
No. What
Yeah,
part
so
of
yeah, I was. Yeah, no, that's right. I remember now looking at the profile and seeing that and thinking, yeah, because I actually did a little work in Maryland with the while I was at school with the British Swimming School. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, I'm significantly deafer after that experience. Kids don't like two things: water and strangers, and I was a stranger in water. Yeah, but yeah, so I was down there studying and uh, really kind of interested in it from the perspective of my hamstring and my issues relating to injuries from rugby. And I figured if I learn nothing else at this school, I'll learn a bit more about that. And then it's a quicker way to get into the workforce and figure out the next step from there. And
Mhm.
I really enjoyed it. And I really wanted to kind of get into sports, but realized it would be quite difficult and was really deterred by a lot of people, professionals that I talked to. They were like, oh, unless you go to university and get a degree in, physical therapy or something like that, kind of kiss your dreams goodbye sort of thing. And I was like, so I always had this horrible feeling in the pit of my stomach that I wasn't going to be good enough sort of thing to get that kind of work.
Yeah.
And when I finished school, we were set to move to Chicago, which had just changed its rules with licensing. And I
Mhm.
needed to find, I think it was 100 hours to be able to take out an Illinois license. And so I was just taking whatever courses I thought were interesting. And I noticed that, I think it was the Potomac Massage School there in DC had a sports massage course over about 3 or 4 days or something like that. And it was run by this person, Tatiana Chamarov. And
Still remember it.
she's awesome. That's my mentor.
Okay.
But I thought I was going to be going and she worked for the Washington Nationals for a long time and had done all this sort of stuff. And I was like, oh, wow, okay, this is someone else. So I take the
Mhm.
course and I'm going there. I expect like this big sort of like, 6'4" kind of blonde haired with the, like Eastern
Locks.
European woman sort of thing. Completely the opposite. Tiny little woman. Shout out to you, Tatiana. Yeah, and spent the weekend learning from her or whatever the course, and she was really like positive about it and had really good feedback, and was like, told me at the end, she's like, stick with this, you're gonna get there. Like, I really believe in you, and take down my details and that sort of stuff. And we still talk like every couple of days. It might sort of string out to a week or something like that. So it's been like, what, 12 years or something like that of knowing this person.
Mhm.
And why she's so sort of important was I reached a point in Chicago where I was like, I think I'm going to kind of get into sports ever. I'm just working with local CrossFitters and things like that. Chicago's such a competitive climate, and I was enjoying it. I was making money and all those sorts of things, but I just didn't know what the next step was.
Sure.
And I was talking to her about taking ART, and she was like, remember you always wanted to do FST. Like, remember I spoke to you about that? I think you're better off taking FST. And I
Oh.
was like, wait, yeah. And it's like I'd just forgotten all about it. And she had taken it and raved about it. So
Mhm.
yeah, I end up just enrolling in the course, making it happen, and getting down there to Arizona. Yeah, just like a lost sheep, like everyone is down there on the first couple of days, if not the entire week. But that the connections I made with people in that first week, that kept me going through the course, and then expanded, opened up doors, different things like that. And by the end of taking level 3, I
Mhm.
was moving to Detroit from Chicago to take up a job with Tricovery, who managed the Detroit Lions at the time. So it was that was the progression there. It was going from sort of I don't know what I'm doing. I'm kind of unsatisfied in my career to, yeah, here's an opportunity to work with professional sort of athletes, which was kind of cool. Shout out to Jeff for answering his phone at about midnight on a Thursday. Yeah, I think FST just has those connections, those networks, and Chris has done a great job there with kind of setting the tone and allowing
Mhm.
people to communicate like that. So hence we're talking. So that was
Yeah,
long-winded, but there you go.
man. So you've been so you're level 3 sports specific FST,
Yep,
right? And then
yep.
you've been stretching, doing FST for I think around 6 years, 7 years now. Remind me.
Yeah, so I
Yeah,
can't
I
even
remember.
remember. I was trying to think about it the other day.
Yeah, I remember on your timeline on your booking site, I was trying to follow chronological order, but I think it's you're one of those people who've been around, and like I said, I'm contacting you guys because you guys know what you're doing. You guys have been long enough in a game where it's not like you're one and done and you're still at level 1 after 6 years. You guys are
Yeah,
incrementally moving up, because I know there's other practitioners who just take level 1 but they don't move up. They don't
yeah.
sharpen their tool set. So it's
I
awesome to see
always
that.
try to tell those people it's like, no, the meat and potatoes is in level 2. Like that's level 1 is like mind blowing. You don't really kind of you get a good overall, and I'm sure it's changed since I went through and all that sort of stuff. But I remember kind of coming back from level 1 thinking like, oh, that was really overwhelming in some ways, but like I think I know, and then you get to level 2 and it's like, oh wow, this is like it's less intimidating, but these moves do so much more. Like this is the real, like I said, meat and potatoes.
Yeah.
Yeah, people have got to do level 2 at least. I think that's not um being negative about level 1 or anything like that. I just think level 2, it's like that's where your brain just goes, whoa, the thing. But yeah, the I know they've got level 4 now, and sports specific I've taken twice, and they've added so much more in there, and just these little bits and bobs, and being able to learn from other people who have like really kind of done amazing things and a lot more innovative than my brain. That stuff's really cool. Hoping to get down there and do level 4 when I get the chance, but I don't want to be one of those people that just keeps putting that stuff off. Like you got to kind of keep it fresh and creative, I suppose.
Sure. That's why I did. Yeah, that 2-year certification period where you have to renew so you can stay up to date.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I was gonna ask you. So you found out FSD through Tatiana, and then you didn't have any initial thoughts when you were enrolled, because she kind of sold the dream, and she said, "Hey, this is a path for you to, advance in your career." I mean, did you have any initial thoughts like, what is FST? But you had already heard about it, correct? About FST.
I'd heard about it. I'd experienced it, but I didn't really like some. I went back and did another couple of days of another course with her. She was teaching, needed some hours or something like that, and went down there, and there was a guy in there who had done FST, and then I was kind of zoned out. He was doing something, and he's like, "See, that's FST," and I was like, "Oh, was it? Like, what was that? Like, I don't." It's not like it was mind blowing or anything like that. Like, I just explained it. I had no idea what he was doing. I was probably lying on the table drooling, sort of like, yeah, that's cool, like whatever. Like, so I'd experienced it, but not really, you know, focused and engaged on what was taking place, what the practitioner was doing. Certainly, it wasn't a full session or any of that sort of stuff. It was just something he worked into whatever we were working on in the course. Um, so yeah, the you get the books, try to
Hmm.
sort of read, and I think it's a little abstract from you can put it together when you're in the room with other people and they're teaching you. I think the way that they teach is coming from a sort of bit of a background in education and that sort of stuff. I think the way they teach is superb. It's absolutely excellent. Breaking off into those small groups, working with each other, working with the teacher. and learning, like getting to feel what it is supposed to feel like
Yeah.
from those who actually know, sort of thing like that. It's such a great way, and getting multiple bodies, multiple sort of tissues under your hands. It's like, yeah, I think it's wonderful like that. Yeah, but I remember distinctively, like everyone who we were hanging out with at the time. I think a group of us were all in the same hotel, maybe like 10 of us or something like that. They're all probably like, yeah, you were lost, man. Like, you were lost. Like, there was a day I was like, man, I suck. I'm the worst. Like, I just may as well just, like, walk into traffic right now. Like, just real down on myself, like, because I wasn't getting stuff. And like, they're like, would you not look around the room? Everyone's kind of in the same thing. But yeah, I don't know, imposter syndrome or something, I guess.
Yeah, I guess I could see that too. I mean, I felt the same way coming from, non-traditional, like I'm not a PT, I'm not a chiro, I'm not a registered massage therapist. So like not having that background, I think kind of made me felt that way as well, you know?
Yeah.
So it can be daunting, but like you're saying, the way that it's structured in that week, it's crazy how much I learned compared to what I went at college, like what I retained and what I'm still doing is like, because
Yeah.
you're actually for, 9 hours or so, just doing stretching and working, correcting, getting feedback. I think those are very important because what do you do right after that? I mean, right after you're done with the course, you're going to be working with people, different bodies, like you're saying. So you need that experience and time on hand on the table rather than just lecture. Because I
Yeah.
don't think I'm the same way. I can't do lecture and reading, writing notes. I got to be doing something active, so I can actually say, this is how it is, rather
Yeah.
than saying, okay, let me just read and listen. No, I have to be doing it. And it's a perfect way. John, give me a quick analogy of how you explain to people what fascia is when they don't know what the heck fascia is, because you're stretching people, and
It's
just give me a
tricky.
quick, yeah, okay, simplicity, like especially like people who are average Joes or even like your professional athletes who never heard a word fascia is. Like, what do you say so that people say, oh, okay, this is what you're doing?
There's a couple of things that I guess I use fairly, I don't stick to one. It just depends on what
Okay,
comes out
shoot
at
it.
the time, I suppose. But doing the old, the shirt pull and showing the vectors and things like that is always good. And using the cling film analogy of, well, you've got your muscles, and it might not be your muscles that are tight. They're wrapped in this actual sheet, this film, like it's like cling wrap, giving those sorts of, I guess, pictures to people can be helpful. Jeff Kong, my old boss, used to say, think of being in a wetsuit. And I always like that one because, if you're in a wetsuit and it's a little harder to kind of move around and that sort of stuff, if it's sticky and those sorts of things. But um, I feel like my brain has gone down this weird rabbit hole of like looking at like the 3-dimensional stuff, because I did for a long time. I thought, yeah, wrapped in cling film, but then it's 3-dimensional. It goes through and around. It's like all encompassing. You get to the abdomen, and cling film is like, it's a poor analogy, I think, with the way that the fascia is. But yeah, generally speaking, I sort of tell people like, yeah, think of that tissue as being wrapped in cling film and attached like this. So, your tongue can actually affect this. And I tell sort of other clients about certain scenarios where I've worked on someone's hips with FST, and their jaw would actually open up and click, and they would gain relief due to the deep front net having some connection to the jaw and things like that. So that's another good one, using those kind of anatomy trains, of visuals of how fascia is, or the fascial lines are attached and things. So and failing that, you just get yourself a set of those posters and point. But
Sure.
those are generally the cling film one. People start to kind of unpack the idea that way.
in your experience working with professional athletes, I know you work with the Indiana Pacers at the Lions. Can you give us some success stories of doing FSD, or are you just doing massage with these athletes as well?
I will always say FST was the key to the door. That's how I've created any credibility, in my opinion, with athletes, because, and I do so much sort of just general hip work with them, because that's, how we generate power and things in explosive power. So affects training, affects what you're doing on the field or on the court and things like that. Yeah, that's been the big thing for me. Is it's why I'm out here in California at the moment, working with a guy. That's been the thing. They can access massage. A lot of people will give them massage. They'll look at, everyone can find a massage therapist that's, suits their needs. But once you combine soft tissue work with FST, it's a real game changer for them, particularly in the NFL. And I think it's a known quantity. It's known in the NFL. Like FST is, like that's, you want to find someone that can who has that qualification and that technique down pat. But what I found with the NBA was it's not in the NBA. Some teams have massage therapists, other people don't. There are people, but there's not many of them. And I think part of it with the rigorous schedule, like NBA just doesn't stop, even in the summer. You've got rookie workouts, draft workouts. You've got summer league, all this sort of stuff, and then you're back into it. It's incredibly intense to work in. But that was ultimately how I got the job, was through the FSC qualification, and that's what a particular player was looking for, because his trainer out in LA practiced apparently, and he has oddly shaped hips. So he was like, "Oh yeah, no, I need this for my hips." And so that's they were looking for someone through the network, Indie Sports Massage. Karen Wiltrout sort of put it out there. Does anyone kind of interested in this? Like they're looking for someone. And I bet straight away, it was the end of the Lions season, and I was doing nothing up there in Detroit. And she was like, she called me straight away. She's like, "Yeah, so I know your boss, and you travel with the Lions, so like, they'd be really interested in having you because you travel as well." And so it's sort of, that was the connection there. So FSC, again, opening doors. I got down there, and that was my bread and butter, doing a lot of the hip stuff for those guys, because it's like their moneymaker is the arm. I like being able to sort of put the ball in a hoop, so you're less likely to mess around with that. But if you can keep them running, jumping, and getting into a stance and things like that, that's everything for them. So and using it pre-game, like and kind of quickie stuff like that.
Yeah. I want
doing that. Cool.
I was going to ask you, what do you do for for a pregame? Like what type of, is it like 10 minutes short, compact? Do you do pretty as a faster movement? I mean, what is your typical warm up with FSC?
So at the moment, I'm working outside of, on the other side of the curtain. I'm employed privately by an NBA player. But so I don't get to see him. Like pregame stuff is earlier in the day, unfortunately. I still do, let's call it a medium pace or something. But when I was in the facility, it was get there at 4:00, and it was just like 10, 15 minutes of fitting the guys in. And it is faster pace. A lot of sweat. Like the room was hotter. Like you got music blasting, all that sort of stuff. And and again, like Anne says, like depends what they want. One player wanted Ed Sheeran, and I was like, how are you getting all hype? But it's also basketball. You're not going out there kill people thing. But Buddy Hield, who I worked with a lot while he was in Indiana, and continued to do so. He,
with the Bahamas national team, right?
yeah. He's
Yeah, I
just
saw
like
that.
Afro
Afrobeat.
beats. So
Yeah.
like, I'm just sitting there going, "How you're such a weirdo? Like you're like you want to be all chill and like." He's like, "I'll be just let me down this hot dog and then we'll do some stretching." And I'm like, "What? Like you got a game, dude?" So like, it's really everyone is different in that
Mm,
regard. But generally speaking, yeah, you lift the intensity and things like that.
okay.
And you have to set the tone, not necessarily the music and that sort of stuff, but you have to be on. You have to have your game face. You have to give them your energy in that work.
Mm.
That transference there is like that's what it's really about. Because you're not going crazy. I think I'm buffering. Am I still there?
Yeah, I still see you. It's just
Okay, cool.
disconnecting.
Yeah. Um, yeah. It basically, yeah, you share that energy, and you know, anytime you kind of come in and you're a little weak sauce, like it's not going to be as effective and things. But certainly that's more what it's about than anything, than affecting anything in the body. Yeah. I think I've lost it.
All right. Well, we'll keep it as that. Hopefully, we'll catch John again in the next episode, whatnot. But don't forget to follow, like, subscribe to the Stretch to Go podcast. And if you're want to learn about how to get FST certified, go to stretch2win.com. I'll learn more about what I do with Stretch to Go here in Greater Baltimore, Annapolis area. You can go to www.stretch2go.com to book your session, learn more what I do, and how I can help you unlock your body's potential. Thanks, everyone. Have a good one. All right. So we got cut off, but I'm going to go back to my question I wanted to ask you is fascia. I think, can you give us an analogy of how you explain to people what fascia is, especially like your athletes? A lot of them probably have heard, never heard, but how do you explain to people what fascia is and what you're working with?
Yeah. So I like to do the old shirt tug and show vectors in the tissue, and that's always good. My old boss, Jeff Kong, used to use the analogy of like, imagine you're wearing a wetsuit, which I also like that one. But yeah, you can't go wrong with the old cling film or saran wrap, whatever you want to call it. The tissue is wrapped in, your muscles are wrapped in this, and so don't think of isolated muscles like just a calf muscle and a soleus as such. Like that's all encompassed in a bunch of cling film sort of thing, and that can lock it down. And that's kind of how I approach it. Um, the athletes, it's a bit easier if you can kind of show them. And I used to have a really good, particularly because I do a lot of hip work, as everyone with FST does. I would often, I had a little tensegrity model of the hips, which I found online, and that was really good to show visually. If your hips were off, or like if you've got, something pulling in a certain direction, how it's going to offset everything. Those are great. So that's helped me with a lot of clients, but particularly with athletes to kind of show like, if you can lock that power, that explosive power, if you can open the hips, that was always a big one. So yeah, those are sort of the go-tos.
I know a couple other practitioners use tensegrity models too, so I'm keen to find out if I should incorporate it into my practice too, to show people how it works, the tensegrity model, because it is visually eye appealing and it'll make sense to people then rather just blabbering off.
Mine unfortunately met a bit of a slow death in my office when I was with the Pacers, because the guys that would be waiting to get on the table would come in and sit at my desk and talk to whoever was on the table or myself and just fiddle with the thing the whole time. And, it ended up one day I picked it up and I was like, wow, they've ruined the elastic in this. But good jobs. But just sit there like it was a Rubik's Cube or something like that.
All right. So as far as like I'm changing the gears to as far as like business. Okay. So you've been doing this for a while. You've been doing this for a while. What strategies have you found most effective in growing your business and to do what you're doing?
Okay. So, I like to tell people I'm definitely a massage therapist. I am not a business person.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the number one thing. So, but what has worked for me in the past is always word of mouth. So obviously that involves sort of customer service skills and things like that, particularly over here in the States. But if you combine sort of FST in particular, once you start getting results with people, they'll share your name to anyone who'll listen and that sort of stuff. Between our conversations, I got a call from a client in Chicago she's been in Chicago, Nashville, Milwaukee, went somewhere else as well. But she called me up the other day because she hurt herself playing pickleball and wanted some advice. She was saying if I was in the area and that sort of stuff. So I still get calls from people, and I haven't been in Chicago in like physically had a presence there in years, and they still call me to kind of come out there. And that is because she had a back issue, and it was a case of, wow, this really works for me. I can't believe it. And now it's, I'm her person, if she can't get to me and I can't get to her, then, it's like who's in the area and that sort of stuff. And obviously I try to refer out where I can through the network. You get a lot of people like that. Once you help people with those sorts of issues, they'll definitely tell their friends and family members and things. You get brothers and sisters. Having moved myself a few times around the country, you find just complete randoms kind of turn up on your doorstep at some point, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I know this person," and you're left sort of sitting there going, "I know that name. Why do I know that name?" And it's someone you worked with 2 towns ago or something like that. So, I just think pairing that skill in the results and really kind of having empathy going in with the clients, and that's probably the number one thing that's helped me with my business. In Chicago, I was working out of an acupuncture clinic with an acupuncturist called Heidi Shimko, and she's still out there. And that was really good because I could refer people to her, and she was completely even her philosophy and stuff on her approach to everything was completely different to mine. And I took a lot away from that, and she took a lot away from me. We still share clients and things like that from time to time. She'll have me out to Chicago every now and then to work out of the new clinic there. And those are other good things, is teaming up with people to, if you have a deficit in knowledge or practice, or if it's simply out of your scope and it's going to complement it, then doing some work with people that are able to kind of, I had a client who was struggling with sleep issue, for instance, and we'd do sort of body work and it'd help him and whatnot. And then she sort of started seeing him as well. His sleep patterns improved dramatically because he was getting sort of multiple kind of approaches to the body and what he needed. So but that's about all I got though.
That's crazy.
Definitely a massage therapist.
So as far as like your long-term goals, John, what's your idea 5-10 years down the road? What do you want to be doing?
It's really unsure. I working in professional sports, that was always the goal. And I think the original goal actually was to go home to Australia and work with the rugby league
team. Yeah.
that was like, oh yeah, I really maybe I could do that one day. And I came to realize that at some point I was like, I'm kind of doing bigger things, and not just sort of like, I don't know that you can kind of take that step and go back to those things at some point. I'd happily do it sort of when things settle down and whatnot. But I think, to be honest, I've had a lot of discussions about wanting to do a team job again, to work for an organization. But I'm really starting to wonder where my head is with that and why I want that. And because I'm working with individuals at the moment, and you're kind of pottering around, you're doing a lot less hours, so it's physically less exhausting, and you're able to kind of work on that one athlete, work on the one car sort of thing, and watch it go around the track sort of thing. So it's really rewarding like that. I've been really fortunate that I've been connected with good people. I've had good mentors. I've met a lot of great people, and they've kind of put me on, I guess. But yeah, probably if I'm not still working in sports, I'd like to be giving back to the bodywork community and being an advocate. I don't know about teaching, maybe. I don't think I've got anything to teach, but just probably mentoring would be a better way of doing it. Like being someone's champion, you can do it, you know. So, yeah. Like, but yeah, that's probably, you know, because it is a lot of work. It's exhausting. You know, we're talking here. I'm in between flights and that sort of thing. So I haven't slept. I sort of, it finished up last night at 2:00, ran back to the hotel and threw everything in my suitcase, and then drove to the airport. And yeah, so it's a lifestyle, but yeah, I imagine that'll get old, and I'll want to kind of settle down a bit, maybe even go back. And I always say to people, like when I retire, I want to grow my hair long, and it'll be balding on top, and you know, have like a ponytail, and move back to like some tiny beach town in Australia and wear Hawaiian shirts and just be that weird dude on the beach. And like, yeah, he used to work in, you know, sports overseas or something. So yeah, like, I don't know. That's, I'm pretty easily pleased.
Living the life back down under.
Yeah, right. No, nothing. You imagine that, doing like a massage a day, 2 massages a day, and then, oh, it's 3:00, I'm off to the beach. You know, that sounds pretty good to me.
Okay. And then my last question, how do you see fascia stretch therapy itself evolving in the next few years, in the next coming years?
So the bigger it gets, and the more people that get involved, because I've gone back and done 2 sports specifics, and I've met people that went through the course that I didn't go through the course with, and they've got completely different experiences and different brains, you know, different clients, different walks of life. When you get back together and you mingle with these people, and they've had time to kind of let everything like steep and use it with multiple different scenarios, you just see the most amazing things. And every time I've gone back, there's these details that Anne and Chris are doling out, and things you're getting from people you've never met before that are in the class. At the very least, you'll get new relationships and that sort of stuff from it. And that opens new doors and that sort of stuff. So watching those things develop, I can really see it is a game changer anyways, but I can see it just, the sky's the limit. I question whether there is an endpoint. You know, there's only so much you can do with the body, I guess, but the way people are kind of looking at it is completely different to even when I started going through the course. So it is exciting. And I think to apply it to kind of my little weird section of bodywork, the NBA doesn't have a lot of practitioners. They're around it, but each time I work on a new player who hasn't had sort of hip work, FST stuff done, it blows their mind, and they're like, "Oh, like, where can I get this?" And then they come to find that they kind of can't. So yeah, it's get your hands on some basketball. It's like it just seems to sort of find another group of people, of population every couple of years. It opens up doors for them and changes sort of, I guess, their rehab and their prep for whatever they're doing in life. So, you can't ask for more than that. It's very exciting stuff. Yeah, there's just going to be smarter people and I guess more innovative people sort of taking the course over time, and the more people share, the better it's going to get. So that's my take on it. What do I know? I'm a massage therapist.
So I've been meaning to ask you this question even at the beginning, but like, how does one person get to where you're at in your position of working with professional athletes? What
So,
path do they need to take to get to where you're at?
so it's a lot of hard work. I think a lot of people want to work with the local team in their city. I've moved around the country. I've done it and sort of to my own detriment. It's probably cost me a paid off VW GTI, which I rode off accidentally moving one time, and probably my marriage to some degree. So it's not for the faint of heart. If you want to get into sports, it is a lot of dedication to that, and other things that definitely fall by the wayside. So it's not all glitz and glamour and tracksuits and whatnot, but it takes a serious amount of dedication. And it's like I've been at work when I've had food poisoning, and it was just like, well, if you don't turn up, you're not going to have a job. So that stuff it's very real like that. I think the important thing is like to probably listen more than you talk, and I love to talk, so that's problematic. But listen more than you talk, stay humble, and just kind of remember on your way up, you'll probably, if you're treading on people's faces and hands on that ladder, you're probably going to see them again when they're, when you're coming back down. So, really sort of watch how you treat other practitioners and mentors and things of that nature, because, you're only as good as your last session, essentially. It can fall apart very quickly, and for reasons outside of your control completely. It just takes a lot of dedication. But get started with CrossFit gyms or high school teams, local college, community college, amateur sporting groups, any of that sort of stuff. I was offering my services to a roller derby team, women's roller derby team in Chicago for free, and that sort of stuff. Like it just trying to get in with an organization and maybe targeting the people of influence in that organization. If it's a player or an athlete, or the head athletic trainer, or the head of medicine, creating credibility with that person. If that involves giving a session or something like that. I don't like to do things for free. I don't think anyone should work for free, particularly giving away something as high quality as FST. But, once you work on those people in the right setting, it'll come together. Yeah, it's probably what I got to say. Did that answer the question? I don't even know.
Yeah, you came back around. So yes, you did, brother.
Yeah,
thanks so much. Yeah. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you go ahead like this. That's slight delay there.
Well, man, thank you so much for letting me finish the podcast. Can you share with the audience how people can follow you and learn more about what you're doing? If you want to share your social media handle, a website, email, and then a way to contact you to book a session or reach out.
Probably the best way is through Instagram. That seems to be what works. And my Instagram's I don't really show my work on there. It's a lot of horseplay, but always happy to have my conversations with other therapists and other practitioners of all walks of life through that. I just connected with one. Shout out to Emma. She's at Casita Bodyworks. Awesome. Yeah, basically, hit me through the gram. What is it? John the Juice, I believe. And yeah, I mean, I don't have a physical office, so hit the gram, and I'll arrange something. Have a table, have hands. We'll travel.
Sounds good, brother. Well, hey, thanks so much. And for those of you who are wanting to learn more about how Jonathon and I got certified, learned this technique of Fascial Stretch Therapy, go to stretchtowin.com, where you can learn about this, and of course find practitioners in your areas or even enroll in the class. And then, of course, don't forget to subscribe, like, follow the Stretch to Go podcast. We have new episodes every Friday at 7 a.m. So thanks, John. Appreciate it, brother.
No, absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure. Thank you very much. It was fun to connect and had a lot of laughs.
Yeah, man. Hopefully we'll connect sometime if I ever go to the Midwest.
Well, I do sometimes still find myself down your way, going and visiting my mentor down at New Notch there in Tyson's Corner. So yeah.
Oh man. Well, hey, safe flight back home, and happy Thanksgiving.
Yes. Have some turkey if that's your thing.
See you, brother.
Peace out.
Bye.